maybe hadn't been working in some other weeks?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that we were just aggressive. Everybody in the front seven. I think at this point in the season, we're all really coming into our own into the scheme. And I definitely think it showed in all the linebackers that played. Getting downhill, getting doubles off, being really physical on pullers and things like that. But I think just a lot of it is, we're finally finding the confidence that it takes, to play as a halfway decent defense in the SEC. So, and with that confidence just came physicality and speed that we've been needing.
Starting the season and then not seeing as many minutes, just what was your approach the last several weeks to improve and work your way back onto the field?
Yeah, well, I'm a guy that had 0 offers out of high school, and now I play in the SEC. So when it came to losing reps and things like that, I'm just blessed to even be here. So I just kept the same mentality that I kept, when I was 18 years old and I had no offers and no idea what I was going to do with my life. I showed up to the weight room, put in the work, showed up to the field, put in the work, and just kept chugging along and trying to do anything I can to help this team. When I was at Rice, I got to enjoy just about every individual linebacker success you could want to have. I came here because I want to win and I want to play big-time football, and I don't really care what role that looks like.
What did you have to do technically to get back on the field and play the snaps you're playing now?
To be honest, that's more a question for the coaches. I felt like I was keeping the same approach the same time. I think in general the biggest thing for me was just more confidence in the scheme, but I think that's kind of like a wide thing that everybody in the defense is getting. So I think technically maybe just the physicality and speed, they saw more of that.
You mentioned getting more confidence as a unit. I mean, obviously the goal every week is to win. You didn't win last week, but can you still build off of that performance, especially as a defense and as a run defense?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't win, but no matter how many points you gave up or didn't give up last week, the score is going to be 0-0 this week. So it's really more about what you put on the film and what you can learn from that. And in terms of that, I think we had a lot. And we saw a lot of good things as a front seven, which was good, and we just really, it's like looking back on practice last week, see what we did and try and keep consistent with those things. So I think that we've built a lot, especially on last week in our approach to how we're handling things in the run game and things of that nature. So I think it's going to carry over.
Well, you said you mentioned you came here to play big-time football from Rice. 9 games into the year, what have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, I've learned that it does get a little brighter under the big lights. Early on, I remember, especially against like first SEC game, Kentucky, that was big time. That I just remember the feeling was a little different. Even though we were playing Georgia and it was a similar environment, and I think if you put on the tape, you'll see that I played a little different too. In Kentucky, I don't think I was as aggressive downhill. Wasn't as sure in the scheme. Was sitting back, waiting a little bit more. And then, this week, kind of over time, you realize that even though there's, I think we got like 4,000 people at Rice, So even though there's more than 10 times that many people in the stands, it's still the same game, and you still got to do the same things.
Could you describe you mentioned the feeling was just a little bit different. Can you describe what that feeling was like?
Yeah, it just felt slower, like Georgia's run game. It didn't feel like everything was just on top of me. At Kentucky, it was like it was almost like a nonstop bombardment. It felt like, and then here it felt like I was doing the attacking. So.
After the Vanderbilt game, some guys mentioned to kind of speak to you about getting a big momentum play. How have you gone about coming into this locker room and trying to be a leader off the field as well, and just being there for guys in the locker room?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when you're a transfer guy is that you can't force it. And the way you do that is that you really establish that you care about them as people too. If I just come in and try and be like, oh, like I'm the guy, like we're going to do things my way, even though they don't know who I am, that message isn't going to be received, you know. So it's really important to establish those personal connections, you know, and establish the brotherhood that football is so much about. And then just kind of put in the work, let them see, you know, who you really are, what you're about. Because the fact of the matter is, even though I'm a group of 5 guy, like they wouldn't care if I was coming from Alabama, I'd still have to prove myself to them. So taking the time to prove myself to them as a player, and then to also connect with them as people. And then, you know, still I never try and force the leadership stuff. I'm just here for you, whatever you need.
Anything else for Blaze?
Blaze, a lot of guys talked about Carolina's running back committee. What have you sort of seen from their offense on film that you have an opinion on this week?
Yeah, I think that their running backs are a really big part of their offense, and that they have 3 good ones. And when it gets like that, you know, it's hard, especially because I think they all have little individual things that they can do very well. So, but the exciting thing about that is it kind of makes the game a little bit more about the front 7, you know, and you kind of get the challenge, and it excites you and gets you going, makes you go a little harder in practice. And in some credit, I think that we have some great scout team running backs that really help us get prepared for that. But just knowing different tendencies for which backs in, you know, which guys are more downhill, who's going to give you a stiff arm, who's going to give you jump cuts, things like that, and just trying to be ready for it all.